So what's going to happen, we're working on a Damascus pattern. You guys can hear me. We've got the microphone turned all the way down. It can go. But right now I'm working on a Damascus billet. I'm about to cut it, fold it. This will be our third weld and then refuse. We're going to go to the anvil. Yeah, any good? I'll get this to a low welding temperature. I keep trying to scream over there to you guys. So, forgot the microphone's right here. I know, like, what? So, I'll bring this up to a low welding heat, and then I'll go under the power hammer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press these two sides together because there's still a gap in there. Whenever you have that gap, you don't have a proper heat transfer. So this will be on the low end just to kind of seal everything up. And again, guys, I apologize for the audio. Like I said, we've got the microphone turned down all we can go. So you come over. Come on, camera person. Come on, camera lady. Get that good footage. So I'm actually using, I think, a shade 11 welding glasses on here. These glasses are actually welding glasses. So these do a great job of letting me see the color of the metal without burning my eyeballs out. You can use the didymium lenses, but these welding glasses are good. Again, I'm not taking this all the way to super welding heat. I just want to be able to get it to stick. All right, I think I'm good to go there. So I'm going to go out the power hammer. And this is just a consolidated. It may have a mild stick, but that's going to be about it. I'm going to give her the old flux and Rooney. Now, I really prefer, for my Damascus, I really prefer doing the coal forge, simply because there's so much more power in the coal forge. You can do the gas, but for this stuff, the turnaround, the speed at which you can actually do a billet is just way faster. Is the audio coming through okay for everybody? Are they here? Is everybody having a duck fit about the audio? So what I'm looking for is for that borax to go slick, and once that happens, everybody's good with it? Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. I'm going to let her soak for just a second, make sure everything's kind of slick and running. And I think we're good, and here we go. I don't think that was quite hot as I wanted it. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to take one more heat. I'm going to do another weld before I draw that out. Now one thing I do with my fires here is I use a lot of water in my fire as far as to contain it. A lot of people use a sprinkle can on this end of it for when I'm burning this hot. Man, I'm basically pouring that crap on there. Because the heat that can come off is ambient heat, boy, is rough. Thank God today we're actually finally a little bit cooler here in South Georgia. We've had some temperatures go down in the 60s at night, which has just been phenomenal considering we've been into triple digits lately with like 90% humidity. It's been disgusting. Okay, I think we're good to go here. Yep. That looks like a good weld. All right, so now I'm going to stretch it. Got a little bit of a D-lam right there on that edge. You don't have to worry about that because that's going to be the bad end anyway. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark it, and we're going to repeat the process. So I'm going to go over to the table. And for this, I have a modified aluminum ruler. It allows me to kind of make a good mark in the middle. All right, there we go. So as soon as this folds, that's going to be 112 layers. So now we'll come actually crease that and fold it again. Now, I'm like the world's worst about cutting that thing too deep. Give her the Fluxaroonie. And go ahead and fold it. Whoop. I'm going to heat it first. So one thing about this billet, and one thing that I end up having to do often is going back and re-welding the handle. Because of course every time you fold it, you have half the handle on the piece that you did before. So what happened is that piece was cold enough in the middle that if I went ahead and hammered it, I'd probably broke it off the handle. So I'm going to bend this, then I'll go over to the MIG welder and zap up the handle real quick. And it's always better to do that before it falls off, trust me. Got a bunch of crusties on there. Just kind of wipe them off real quick. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to come back in. I'm going to drop a little bit of weld right there. So I'm going to go over to the table and hit it with some weld. Everybody watch your eyeballs. That's going to save me a whole heap of problems right there. Okay. Now, one of the aggravations about running the fire this hot is your coat kind of burns out of the bottom. So you really do have to make a heck of an effort to keep fuel in the bottom of the fire, your sides high. Fire maintenance with one of these things is a huge deal. Now, of course, burning this hot for an extended period is going to form clinker. So even if you've got good coal, you have to be mindful because you will form a chunk of clinker really quickly. All right, I'm going to go make a mark real quick before I forget. I'll tell you one of the worst things about doing this is the simple fact that I will forget how many folds I've made, and as a result, I will end up with not the number of layers that I had originally wanted, usually way too many. Making Damascus. You know, I remember the time where making Damascus was, you know, that top tier thing. You know, it really just takes practice. And the fact of the matter is, you know, these guys that are out there that are manufacturing Damascus, that, you know, are in the home shops with the presses, you know, this just becomes second nature. It's just like the forge welding in the videos I've done lately. You know, a lot of these projects, you know, if you do it every day, it becomes super easy. But if you try it with a trivet, it sucks. So again, what I'll do is I'll take a lighter heat right here, just something to make sure that everything's sticking, and then I'll bring it up to the full welding heat. And your problem area is almost always next to your handle, because, you know, most of the time when we're doing our normal work, you never put the handle that deep in the fire. But when you're doing this, you have to. All right, I think we're good. Got a little bit of slick stuff running. I'm not even going to cut the air blast. Just going to go over here. Consolidate everything. I'm going to reflux around those bad edges. I mean, usually the tip's fine. Tip's usually the good part. But it's just, there's a really bad tendency to underheat the area next to the handle. And even I have to remind myself to kind of start there and work my way to the front end. And buddy, let me tell you what, this damn fire right here is hot. Step over here next to the fan. Holy crap. All right, I think that's our girl. That looks to be pretty good, but I still feel like I've got a little bit loose down here, so I'm going to take another heat right here at this base and just redo that base. usually what I'm looking for in there, I'm looking for that borax to go slick. And that's usually one of the best indicators. Okay, I think that helped. I think I did good. So this is supposed to be a lower layer count. So we're going to do just about 250 layers. Now if you notice, I'm having to flip my work. That's because as these power hammers are used, we have what they call wear on the hammerhead, so it's no longer perfectly flat. And if that happens, that means that one side's getting mushed more than the other. And so as a matter of practice, just like when you have your hand punch, you flip things around to try to even all that out. Now I want this billet to end up being about 3/16 of an inch thick. So what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to get this flattened out, get it reasonably uniform, but it'll probably be somewhere between 3/8 and 1/4. And then I'm going to put a kiss block in the hammer. Good to go there. So now I'm going to put in the kiss block and I'll bring this down to the final thickness. Now the crazy thing is, you know, you can have a general blacksmith shop, but you know, if you're doing Damascus, I mean, there are very particular tools. For example, a surface grinder. Man, if you're doing a lot of high-end knives, a surface grinder is one of your best friends. Like every knife maker should spend some time in the machine shop so they actually see like the modern processes that are used. Instead of we're all flailing around with our 1x42 inch grinders instead of actually having seen the way it needs to be done with professional or modern tools. All right, now we start the game of where the hell did the kiss block go? Found it. Boy, I lucked out. So I don't need a forge welding heat here, but I will take a higher heat. You know, when you're pulling this stuff out, it's always smart to work it high. There's less stress on the surrounding metal. And if you work it a little bit high enough, then what ends up happening is that, you know, if you've got a D-lam, it will actually refuse itself. But boy, this son of a gun is hot. All right. Now, if you'll notice one thing I'm doing, I'm putting a lot of down pressure on here because the pain in the hind end is that if this gets cold or this piece jumps, it is so easy for it to do that. and then one hammer blow screws up the whole freaking billet. So I'm about half paranoid, so that's why I'm actually pushing down hard to keep that flat so it doesn't jump up and bite into the steel itself. Okay, is Mike dying? Oh. Okay. So, by the way, this is a classic way to burn up crap in the forge while you're distracted. So, I just want you to know, if you're ever in your forge and, say, hey, I want to screw up a day's worth of work, be distracted by screwing with the camera. Works every time. Sit here. Chestnuts roasting on the open fire.
Okay, I'll take it.
Are you good to go? Here we go.
Thank you guys for being patient. I had to grab the other mic so that I could respond to you guys because he can't hear me because he's wearing earplugs and I can't hear him. So he can't respond to you, so I'm going to try to.
Okay. All right, I think we're good to go there. For this project, I think I am going to actually just forge a curve. I've got to make a big type of a curved butcher's knife. So I think I'm just going to forge that corner and not grind it. So I'll take the heat and just go to the hand hammer. We'll come out right here. Now I'll tell you, this is one of my favorite places to cheat because I'll use a hand hammer and then use this to flatten it back. One of the most effective and easy ways to keep everything doing what it needs to do. Now there's still probably a good bit that I'll end up grinding off that end. So one of the problems I have is the blade on this needs to be about 15 inches. And I used to have a heat treat oven that was 36, but I just never used it for 36-inch stuff. So when the heating coil went bad, I actually chopped it down to about half of that. And so now the one down time I need the extra length, and I ain't got it. Look, that's a little cold. Like I said, this is just one thing you do not want to work under temperature. Your risk of delamination goes through the roof.
He can't hear me so I can talk all kinds of crap and I'll never know.
That should be good enough for government work. Let me flatten it one more time. Okay, one Damascus blade. Now this thing is supposed to have a curvature to it, so I'm going to curve it, and then we're going to call that good. I do want to even it up though. It looks like the hind end of it's a little thicker than the mids. So when I'm dumping my ash down here, there's not any hot coals coming out. It's just powder dust, which means that I've got enough clinker in the bottom here. There's actually that's blocking the airflow. So it's got to be cleaned out. But I'm going to push through. We'll clean it out in just a bit. Now one thing I do know is that the end right there is thicker than the blade, so I'm going to get that because I'm bad about leaving that too thick because this will be welded to a mild steel handle. So I need to make certain that it's fused well and that it's not over thick because that'll be a big grinding headache if I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and reach in. Boy, I got a big clinker right there. Woo! The size of that joker. I can fish another one out of here. All right. Still got some down there. Oh, come on, you. There we go. So the one good thing about running these hot fires is that your clinker consolidates, so it's easy to dig out. Very easy to fall on your cables to catch them on fire. So I've got a foot pedal that I control my on and off with the air blast. The problem is with these glasses, you can't see the damn thing. So half the time I don't know what I'm doing. And like the worst thing is, you think that you actually stepped on it to cut it off, and then you end up leaving the piece in the fire and you turn around to like a fountain of sparkles. We're getting close there. Fire's settling down and concentrating. Like I said, if I ever have a D-land, it's usually right next to this handle. All right, think we're good to go, and here we go. My lips are burning. Okay, I think that's going to do us. Okay, so I'll take another heat. I'm going to go ahead and put the curve in the blade that I need, and she's good to go. Chop, chop. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do myself a favor. I'll heat the whole thing and I'm going to run it through the flat dies, flatten it out, and then she'll be ready to cool down. Now, if you're a knife maker, you don't know this. This is one of the greatest tricks for owning a power hammer, is just the ability to flatten out a knife length. Now, I've got combo dies in there, which is the drawing die and the flat die, but most of your professionals usually just have the flat dies, because you've got flat dies in there. You can take the blade stock and run it through like this. It may not be perfect, but it's damn near close to it. And if you guys have ever fought trying to get your stock straight, yeah, that really does the trick. So let me set this to the side. I got one other thing I want to show you guys before we call it quits on the live stream. We'll cut this fire off before I catch the chop on fire, which I almost did the other day. I had a big sheet sitting over my machinery over here, and I was doing some forge welding, and spark got to it, and I turned around to a column of flame. It was not good. Woo! Okay.
Oh no, now I can hear me talking.
All right, let's go over here. So we're going to go over to the water bucket. So here's the thing. So the blade that you just saw me do was not the first one. I had a second one that I did the other day, and it warped really bad in the hardening process, and I didn't do the temper I should. You know, if you guys don't know this, that hardening and tempering, like the hardness of the metal really affects the pattern, like the color in the pattern. So I used one of our burnout ovens to try to temper the damn thing, and it was still way too hard, and so I was trying to straighten it, and I put it in the vise to straighten it, and it said pink, and you can imagine the words that came after that. But I still have a piece of Damascus here, and I cleaned it up, and I wanted you to see the pattern if it had worked. So let me rinse this thing off here.
Ambient tree.
There goes the microphone. Hang on a second. Hold, please. But check this out. You see that, boys and girls? I'm gonna go out in the light. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. That's what, and again, you can see that's a super tight pattern. I didn't want the pattern that tight, but again, I lost count, so, you know, I kind of suck. But I'll still be able to get some knife out of this, but that is a really pretty pattern. And, oh, and by the way, the cool part of this, I forget that you guys just showed up midway. So let me show you what that pattern's made out of. So, for those of you that have been to my shop in Hammerend, this is actually a piece of railroad track. What I'll do is I'll actually blow this rib off, and I'll take about a 5-inch chunk of this, and I pull this out in the bar stock. This is 1080 or thereabouts. And then when we go to the junkyard, we get these giant saw blades that are approaching an L6 that have a lot of chromium in them. This is pretty rusted, but that provides my bright line. And this is actually the stack that I use to do that Damascus. So, you know, you can order stuff, and it's always a good idea. I'm cheap, and I have a scrapyard, so I do a lot of this stuff. So, holy monkey, boys and girls. So guys, we've been trying to, as we're scrambling to get into the season, because I know you guys have been watching the videos, but man, it has been just a flat out run here in the past couple weeks. We got back from Missouri. We had a big movie contract dropped on us, so we're trying to hurry up and get through with that and then get everybody trained, because starting October the 1st, I will be in the field all the way to the middle of November, at which point I will be close to a dead man. So, and then we can start thinking about filming some more stuff. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the live stream. Do all that engagement crap. You know how it works. Thank you all so much, and we'll check you a little bit later. Bye-bye.